I am going to convene the meeting, and by magic, ring the bell now. That was amazing, wasn't it? Okay, well, friends, hello everybody, good afternoon and good evening from where you happen to be watching us. This is 5,587th meeting of the Rotary Club of Chicago. And we're delighted to have so many guests today. Well, what I would like to share with you is that this session today is part of the celebrations of the partnership between Rotary and the United States Peace Corps. So our speakers, that is going to be the theme of the panel discussion today. And I'm glad to see some Rotaractors that are in the audience, and you will hear a lot of very good things about this partnership. Many people ask us, I'm sure you've been asked too, that partnerships, can Rotary International partner with my organization and that organization? And it turns out that partnerships emerge from the bottom up. So by the time the board of directors of Rotary International is considering a partnership in an organization, it is so obvious that this is what has to happen that, it ends up being a natural match. And such is the case of the Peace Corps and Rotary. As you know, we have many former Peace Corps volunteers that work at RI, as well as many Rotarians who are former Peace Corps volunteers, among them Steve Werner, and our newest member, Richard Ziegler, who will be speaking to you a little bit later. But before that, I would like to invite Marshall Schmidt to give us the thought of the day, because Marshall's daughter was a Peace Corps volunteer. So Marshall, go ahead, and we would love to hear what you have to say.
Sure. So on January 20th, 1961, President Kennedy uttered what probably are his most famous words: ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And in the wake of the response, which was overwhelming, there was no organization to satisfy that desire to help the country. And so the Peace Corps was born. Fast forward 52 years later, my daughter was graduating from college and decided to join the Peace Corps. And after a short stint in Jordan, ended up in Mozambique. And near the end of her deployment in Mozambique, I asked her, how did the whole Peace Corps thing work out? What did she take from it? And she said, Dad, you cannot understand how much it has changed me. She said, I now feel like I can solve any problem. No matter what the world throws at me, I feel that I can solve that problem. And so what I want people to take from my thought of the day today is that when we serve to change lives, as we do in Rotary, that we change ourselves in a very, very positive way. And just like Rotary, the Peace Corps does the same thing. It transforms people and helps them find their better selves. And so I look forward to the panel discussion today, because these are two unbelievable organizations that share a very, very important aspect, and that is that they change their members as their members change the world for the better.
Thank you so much, Marshall. Yet another proof that service is good for you in all aspects of your life. So, I will proceed now. All of you, I know you're familiar with the format. So at the end of the presentation, this talk of each one of our guests, we're going to ask questions, and I ask you, one question per attendee, and keep them short, so we'll have time to listen to as much as we can from them. All right. So, and remember, you can type your questions in the chat box, and we'll be reading them. Now, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce one of the newest members of our club, Richard Ziegler, who is the CEO/president of Bulamu Healthcare, a pretty extraordinary organization that has been working with the Ministry of Health in Uganda to improve the healthcare infrastructure. Also, Richard has been a Peace Corps. He's a former Peace Corps volunteer. So, and he was stationed in Benin for about 3 years. So, Richard, I will let you go ahead and introduce our speakers. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Marga. And I want to thank Marshall also for that terrific thought that is, I think, entirely apt for the upcoming discussion. Our first speaker today is Ted Adams, who serves as the acting director of the Office of Strategic Partnerships and Intergovernmental Affairs with the Peace Corps. Serving as the acting director and agency specialist on national service and international volunteering, Ted oversees a portfolio of domestic and international non-governmental, multilateral, and U.S. agency strategic partnerships for the team, supporting ongoing Peace Corps efforts to collaborate with organizations and networks that share a common goal of leveraging the potential of volunteer service, both domestically and around the world. Ted served with his wife as a Peace Corps volunteer in Ecuador from 1998 to 2000. He holds a master's in business administration from the University of Minnesota Carlson School of Management and a bachelor's in political science from the University of Colorado at Boulder. Our second speaker today is Steve Werner, who is a fellow with the W.K. Kellogg Foundation and past chairman of the National Peace Corps Association. Steve Werner was a Peace Corps response volunteer who served in the country of Georgia, where he worked with the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs based in Tbilisi. He is helping the ministry and its LEPLs with capacity building to create stronger programs, fundraising plans, boards of directors, and long-term strategies. Before serving as a Peace Corps response volunteer, Steve served as executive director for Water for People, an international nonprofit organization based in Denver, whose mission is to assist people in developing nations gain access to safe drinking water and proper sanitation. As executive director, Werner led an organization that conducted programs in Latin America, Africa, and Asia. Steve, who's also a Rotarian, has served in senior management positions with the American Cancer Society, CARE, and Habitat for Humanity International. He is knowledgeable in all aspects of nonprofit management, administration, program development, and fundraising. And he is a past chairman of the National Peace Corps Association, the Peace Corps' alumni organization. Steve has also served in leadership positions with Rotary clubs, international festival organizations, and other community associations. And towards the beginning, he served as a Peace Corps volunteer in South Korea. He now has 3 grown children and 6 grandchildren. Our final speaker today is Ingrid Schwab, who is a partnerships senior specialist with Rotary International. Ingrid Schwab is a partnerships senior specialist at Rotary International, providing support for partnerships with Ashoka, Habitat for Humanity International, Mediators Beyond Borders International, the Peace Corps, and Shelterbox. Ingrid has been with Rotary for 12 years, serving in several roles across educational programs, grants, and partnerships. She received her BA in French from Xavier University and her MA in French Literature from Vanderbilt University. Marga, thanks, and over to you.
Okay, well, this is pretty extraordinary. I hope you're as excited as I am, and I see that we have a nice group of friends here ready to listen. So I'm going to go to Ted with my first question. And again, Ted, thank you so much for being with us today. Would you like to give us an overview of what the Peace Corps is? We have guests from other countries in the audience, and how the partnership started with Rotary. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Marshall, Marga, Richard, we're going to take you on the road. I think can't imagine a better promo for Peace Corps. Humbled to be at Rotary One, and I'm always humbled whenever I'm in the room at a Rotary Club meeting. This partnership is one of about 16 that I manage in our portfolio, but it has definitely been really a high point in my perch here at Peace Corps. So with that, yes, to give you an overview, I do have a couple slides that I thought I might just take us through to give you a quick overview of the Peace Corps. I'm going to go pretty fast, but for those of you who don't know, the Peace Corps really is focused around three key goals. It is to help people of interested countries in meeting their needs for trained men and women to solve community problems on the ground. It's to share culture and exchange culture between the U.S. and other countries. And the third goal of Peace Corps is to bring it back home and bring all that learning back home. We are in 61 countries. Maybe to back up for those of you who don't know Peace Corps, we were founded by the Peace Corps Act, was actually signed last week, 60 years ago, by President Kennedy, to send Americans overseas to promote those three goals, to promote peace and friendship, and those three central goals. So today we are in 61 countries and 7 regions around the world. As you can see, Africa has always been our highest concentration of volunteers. When we are fully teamed up, we've got 7,100 volunteers in the field, and we have over 240,000 returned Peace Corps volunteers. So if I slip into some jargon, or any of us do, of saying RPCV, that is a returned Peace Corps volunteer. And the idea is that you're not an alumni, you're a returned volunteer, and you continue to do that service. So right now, it's worth noting that those 7,100 volunteers have been evacuated, and they are back in the States. But we can talk more about that to answer your questions. But we are waiting for the day and regrouping to send those volunteers back out. We still have our 61 offices around the world open and operating to maintain our relationships with partners and help out wherever we can. Peace Corps has 2 central programs. That's the 2-year program, which is, most of you probably have heard when you hear about Peace Corps, that's this one. There's 2 years in country and 3 months of service on the front end of that. And the other one is Peace Corps Response. And this is a shorter term deployment, generally 3 to 12 months. And those tend to be folks with a little bit more experience, and they're a little bit more focused, those projects, on different technical skills. And a third one that seems to be emerging actually through this pandemic is our piloting a virtual service program that has enabled us to maintain connections and keep volunteers out engaged in the field. And we look to continue that and integrate it back into our in-person programs. They certainly will not replace them. Just a couple more here. As you can see, we have a very similar DNA beyond our missions of peace and friendship. If you look on the right side, you can see our 6 key program areas for education, health, youth and development, agriculture, community economic development, and the environment, which I'm sure for you sound very familiar if you look at your focus areas on the left, and you don't need to do that, but that is what, there's a natural alignment. And for years, Peace Corps volunteers have been finding Rotarians in the field, and it was really a band, I call them a band of returned Peace Corps volunteer Rotarians, the combination to really bring these 2 organizations together to gel into a formal partnership. And I will just say, I won't walk through all this slide, but what we found was that what started with and continues to be the core of our work is to find each other at the local level overseas, has expanded into what we call at Peace Corps the full life cycle of the volunteer, in terms of going back to helping build the volunteer pipeline with Rotary clubs inviting recruiters, Peace Corps recruiters, to come and bringing all their different program folks and constituents together to hear about the possibility of serving in the Peace Corps. Particularly important now, as for the first time in our history, we're going to be going from 0 to 7,100 volunteers when we go back to the field. And then at the other end of the Peace Corps experience, when Peace Corps volunteers come back home and they need a landing spot, right? A landing place to continue this amazing civic engagement and leadership they're doing in the field. And so what better than to have Rotary there to help be that trampoline, if you will, for the next adventure. It's been invaluable how Rotarians have responded to the evacuation of our Peace Corps volunteers. And I won't go into, I can answer questions later, but I did want to just give like a minute or two to Steve to talk about how this partnership did start, because it's so quintessential Rotary to hear it.
Okay, thank you, Ted. This is just wonderful. I had the pleasure of meeting volunteers on the site, when they were, and what I heard them say, use us, we're here, you don't have to pay for us, we're ready to serve. So one cute story, there was one volunteer from Potomac, Maryland, a swimmer, that was assigned to help a project we were doing in Burkina Faso. And they gave him a little square room with cinder block and a hole that was a window, and they painted it all white. And there he says, our Peace Corps volunteer lives in the White House. So it was so good and so productive at the same time. So anyway, our next speaker is going to be Ingrid, who is going to tell us the Rotary side of the story. And Ingrid, okay, go ahead, and we would love to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Marga, and thank you everyone for letting me join you today. It's really a pleasure to be here. From the Rotary side, clearly Rotary and Peace Corps have been collaborating for a long time. But officially, we launched the partnership at the headquarters level in 2014, and we have, with a pilot year, we've renewed the partnership several times, the most recent being this summer. We renewed the partnership again through 2024, which we're all very excited about. And yes, there's definitely lots of ways for the Rotary Network to connect with, engage with, collaborate with active Peace Corps volunteers, returned Peace Corps volunteers throughout the partnership in many different ways. And it doesn't matter, you could be based as a Rotary member, you could be based in the US or based globally. There are different ways to engage depending on where you are. And of course, as Ted pointed out, the virtual connections, we can also take advantage of that, of course now, but also in the future, continuing with that. Referring to Ted's slide from earlier, there are ways to connect with Peace Corps volunteers throughout all stages of their service. Pre-service, connecting with new Peace Corps volunteers before they start their service. If you're US based, I think Ted mentioned you can invite Peace Corps recruiters to come attend a club meeting. You can also invite them to special events in your community, and that sort of just keeps the relationship going between the two organizations. And those Peace Corps recruiters can let you know when volunteers in your area are going to be heading out to service. So you can connect also with those volunteers, maybe learn about what they might do before they leave, learn a little bit about them, establish those relationships, maybe even host a send-off party at your club meeting space before the volunteer heads out. And of course, pre-service or training opportunities, if you are based globally, based in country where the Peace Corps volunteer is going to be doing their service, you can help welcome them during their 3 months of in-country language and technical training. You can also connect with them and learn about where they might be doing their service, in what areas, just to start making those connections. As far as in-service collaboration, when the Peace Corps volunteers are there during their term of service, if you're US-based, you can, keep those relationships that you might have established with the Peace Corps volunteer before they left. Or if you haven't connected with anyone yet, you can always go to the Peace Corps website, find out what program areas are volunteers focusing on in different countries, maybe reach out to make that connection. And we have a lot of different resources, Ted and I do, to help you make those connections. If you're based in a Rotary or Rotaract club near where a volunteer might be doing their term of service, you can connect with them to work on humanitarian activities and projects together. Working together on community needs assessments, working on what might we do together and how do we implement that together. There are lots of opportunities. Also, US-based, you can participate in the projects that the Peace Corps volunteer and the host or in-country club are doing together, either virtually or you can help develop them together through a grant project. Of course, you're not limited to just district and global grants, but that's always an option if you wish. And then, of course, with the returned Peace Corps volunteer back to the U.S., if you're a U.S. club, definitely, I think, Ted, you said use the trampoline to trampoline them back into service, but definitely keep the continuation, keep the service going. You could invite returned Peace Corps volunteers to speak at your club, to take part in community service events with your club, build those relationships, learn about what they learned about and what they did when they were there, kind of mutually beneficial learning, conversations together about service. You can also connect through the Peace Corps volunteer with any host clubs they might have been working with in country, building bridges that way with other Rotary clubs. And those in-country clubs can keep the relationships going also on their side, staying in touch with the Peace Corps volunteer or connecting more with Rotary clubs in the US. So there's definitely, at any point, you can engage in the partnership, and there's a range of ways. We have a lot of examples of how you can get involved. And I think Steve will be talking about some of that personal experience. But basically, it's whatever makes sense in the community and what's of interest to the Rotary clubs as well and volunteers. As Ted pointed out, there's a lot of overlap in the areas of interest and program areas for Peace Corps and Rotary. So there's all sorts of service projects and activities you can get engaged in through the partnership. And I'm happy to take questions later, whenever you need to, and I'm always available by email as well. So thank you, Marga. I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Ingrid, so much. Well, some of you may not know, especially our guests, that in our club, we have another former Peace Corps volunteer, that is Dr. Andrew Dykens, who could not be present today and deeply regretted because his heart is with the Peace Corps program, to the extent that when he joined our club, he brought a project that seemed to be impossible. And it turned out to be the largest global grant we had ever done. And it consists in training hundreds of healthcare workers in Senegal to provide, to raise awareness, prevention and detection of cervical cancer, which is the #1 cancer killer in Senegal. So Andrew has been designing this program for 10 years. He's now with the University of Illinois in Chicago. And we have a Facebook page for that project that if you go to our Facebook page, Rotary Club of Chicago, you can find that page specifically for the project. And what is so remarkable is that in spite of the pandemic, the training kept going ahead, and this grant is on the second very successful year. So, it is a delight to have Andrew with us. And also, I remember when we told him, hey, Andrew, we have the funding, I think he was shocked. We were too, because we're talking at a very large grant, over, $250,000. So, it is real. It is real. So, if you have friends who may be interested in the Peace Corps, we just have to tell them, reach out and do not hesitate joining. Well, our next speaker is going to be Steve, who is one of the very first friends I've made in Rotary, a mentor. He didn't know he was mentoring me. We had many good laughs because I knew nothing about Rotary. So when I met Steve, Steve has a fascinating story to tell as well. So I'll let you do that, Steve. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much, Marga, and thank you, everybody, for the invitation today. And thank you, Ingrid and Ted, for not only being on the program today, but the wonderful support you provide to the partnership in your role as staff liaisons. Ingrid and Ted like to take a back seat on many things, but without their support, we wouldn't have this partnership as well established as it is. So thank you. I was also a Peace Corps volunteer in the country of South Korea. That was when I was earlier, and I did a 2-year assignment. That assignment is what shaped my career, which in turn also led me to Rotary. And I'll touch on that in a second. But then, as Richard's kind introduction mentioned, I also did Peace Corps Response a few years ago. So that's a shorter term assignment, which is focused more on your technical expertise. And so everybody in Chicago 1 could be a Peace Corps volunteer by joining Peace Corps Response. And you don't have to go for 2 years. You can go for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, or 1 year. I did 8 months in the country of Georgia. But I'm only mentioning that because when I was younger and involved with the Peace Corps alumni organization, which is called the National Peace Corps Association, as the board chair, I was also helping with some of the fundraising. And Sarge Shriver, many of you will remember, Sarge was the first director of the Peace Corps, and he was President Kennedy's brother-in-law, and he also headed up the war on poverty for President Johnson. So, and then he also was a vice presidential candidate, I think, with Hubert Humphrey. So he was quite a charismatic and wonderful leader. But I was going by his office one day to ask him to sign some fundraising letters, and it was only going to be for 15 minutes. And his assistant made it very clear that this can't take more than 15 minutes because he's very busy. Well, as Sarge will do, he got on a roll as he was signing letters, and he kept me in his office for an hour and a half. And I kept, looking at the watch thinking, oh, I'm keeping way over. And, he's going to be upset when he realizes, but he's the one who kept going on and telling his assistant, just a few more minutes, but it ended up being an hour and a half. And the only topic that day was why we're called returned Peace Corps volunteers. He said he argued strongly that we not be called Peace Corps alums or former Peace Corps, because he believed that when you serve as a Peace Corps volunteer overseas, you return back home and you continue to do Peace Corps type work. And so when some of us in District 5450 got together at a district conference, and, Peace Corps volunteers are a lot like Rotarians. It was the fellowship hour at the district conference, and we were all at the bar, right? That's where both returned Peace Corps volunteers and Rotarians hang out. And when we started looking around, we saw that there were 25 Rotarians that, had just kind of naturally, congregated in the corner. And we all returned Peace Corps volunteers. So then we started investigating and saw that how closely aligned the Peace Corps and Rotary strategic plans were. You could literally have taken Rotary's name out of the Peace Corps strategic plan and vice versa. They were so closely aligned. And then, of course, our 7 areas of focus and Rotary's top programs are also very much in alignment. So it just made sense that Peace Corps and Rotary form a partnership, and we worked at that and asked the leadership of both organizations to meet, and then that resulted in the first memorandum that was signed. And now, as Ingrid just mentioned, the 3rd iteration of that memorandum has just been approved. So the partnership's on very firm ground, except what we're trying to do is show every club in the world, Chicago 1, Denver Southeast, every club in the world, how a partnership with Peace Corps could benefit them through their programs in the field. Could also benefit back home. I know that your club, as our club, is doing a lot with refugee resettlement, and returned Peace Corps volunteers can help a lot because in many cases we still speak the language, we understand the culture. So if you're involved in any form or fashion with helping new arrivals to our country, then teaming up with the returned Peace Corps volunteers in Chicago would make a lot of sense. And then finally, even though the focus is on programs and how we could do bigger, better, more sustainable programs together, it just makes sense that returned Peace Corps volunteers coming home, being welcomed by Chicago 1, can end up as Rotarians. And Richard and Andrew are great examples of that, and how they are continuing their service, and Rotary is a great way to continue that service. And we're finding every day that returned Peace Corps volunteers are joining Rotary, so it's great for Rotary, I think, to have another source of potential members, but also members who've lived and worked in other countries can add a whole new dimension to the planning of our projects. And then finally, Rotarians can also become Peace Corps volunteers. As I mentioned, I took a sabbatical. I called it a sabbatical. Peace Corps didn't call it a sabbatical. But and when I did 8 months in Georgia, it was like a sabbatical from my career, and I could go and serve again. And it was great to go back into Peace Corps. But that's something every one of you can do. And since there's no upper age limit, I believe, Ted, the oldest serving volunteer before the pandemic caused the evacuation was a volunteer was 88 years old. And so there's no upper age limit. So if you are getting ready to retire or you want to take a break from your career, Peace Corps can still use your talent and your experience in other countries. They're looking for people like us as Rotarians and business people and leaders in our fields to serve as Peace Corps volunteers. So I'll stop there so we have time for questions, but that's part of why this partnership just makes so much sense. Oh, I do want to add one thing. One of the members today is from Rotary in Australia. Well, Australia has their own version of Peace Corps. So we intended this not to be just the U.S. Peace Corps and Rotary, but the Peace Corps type organizations in every other country. Over 40 countries, almost 45 countries have a version of Peace Corps. It may not look exactly the same, but it's modeled after Peace Corps. So this partnership could grow quite a bit in other countries as well. Okay, thanks, Margaret.
Steve, thank you so much. Well, the floor is open for questions. There is one question that I saw. Let me go back up. Hal Muller from Madison, New Jersey was asking, how is the Peace Corps financed and could you deal with 200,000 volunteers? Richard kindly gave an answer in the chat box, but I wonder, Ted, if you could tell us a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the response I would give is that it's not always quantity over quality. So it's somewhat of a balance. I think we try to balance the demand for volunteers and the needs of the countries that we're working with. We only go into countries, as you probably know, where Peace Corps is invited in to work on specific projects that the government deems as our priorities. And then it's a discussion and conversation around what resources we can bring to the table and what the country to meet some of the country's needs. But what I can tell you is that while we do look to grow numbers of volunteers, we're particularly in COVID, we're looking at these different modalities of the service as a way to increase our numbers, increase our impact, and increase the number of people that can be involved. So looking at virtual service as a complementary piece and or a standalone piece of the kind of Peace Corps portfolio for folks who cannot travel overseas or can bring their talents and skills to this project, so long as we can maintain that Peace Corps, those three goals of the Peace Corps. And a lot of countries that we're working in have different types of modalities where the world, many agencies around the world, like in Japan and South Korea and Germany, and have their own version of Peace Corps. There are a lot of really interesting models that Peace Corps is now working on to help build the capacity of countries to build their own volunteer corps. So those are, yes, we can increase our numbers to a certain extent, but there are also these whole new areas that we're exploring to figure out how to engage more Americans and really truly be capacity builders. Part of the Peace Corps Act actually calls for the Peace Corps to be helping stand up national service or service initiatives within the countries they're working with. And it's actually something very exciting that we're working on now, is figuring out how can we really do that with the experience and expertise we have on the ground.
Thank you, Ted, very much. Khaled Akawi, from a past president of our club, is asking, what are the countries that are at most need and in what field?
Marga, could I say a word about that?
Yes.
Well, it's an excellent question, but I would come back to the three goals of Peace Corps, which are to support cultural understanding of Americans by the host country, cultural understanding of the host country by Americans, and then the service to increase the supply of trained people in the host country. The reason I say that is, in my experience, at least, a good 2/3 of the experience has to do with cultural learning and understanding. And a lot of Peace Corps volunteers are doing this on the early side in their careers. So there is a writer who was a Peace Corps volunteer, Paul Theroux, who said, Peace Corps has changed the U.S. more than any other country because, most Peace Corps volunteers end up back in the U.S. after their service, but we're different people. So it's not that that isn't an excellent question. It's just to kind of illustrate that the amount of cultural cross-cultural understanding that comes out of it is so important that the technical capacities for me were life-changing as well, but not the main thing that my peers and I took from the experience. I'll pause there.
Thank you, Richard, very much. I have a question here from Eric Campbell, our immediate past president. It says, what is the best way for Rotary One to connect with the RPCVs in Chicago? Are there local events for RPCVs we can attend, or should we be meeting with them before they head off on their journey to establish the connection then? I think both Richard and Ted have contacts in the Chicago office. Oh, is there a Peace Corps office here in Chicago? Oh, Ingrid as well. So.
Actually, that was a great lead-in, Marga, because NASA just joined us. She's the Peace Corps recruiter, so she would be a great person to help you connect with Peace Corps and return Peace Corps volunteer events in the Chicago area. Can she just say a quick hello?
Yes.
Nisa, are you still connected?
Hi there, everyone. Yes, thank you so much for having me. My name is Nyasa Kali. I am one of the 2 Chicagoland Peace Corps recruiters, along with my colleague Megan Stoltenberg, but I typically cover Evanston. So I think someone dropped it in the chat, but CAPCA, our Chicago Area Peace Corps Association, is an excellent resource in order to connect with RPCV events. And typically, we do a Chicago office located in the federal building downtown in the Loop. But typically, we're doing events typically targeted towards leads, applicants, those who are entering in. But if you're hoping to connect with return Peace Corps volunteers, CAPCA will be your best resource in order to kind of figure out what events are happening in the city, where you can get plugged in, where you can get involved.
Okay. May I ask you to share your contact information so we are in touch? Because we have not only former Peace Corps volunteers here, but in the Evanston area, there are parents of former Peace Corps volunteers as well. So, it's, yeah. Okay, well, super. It's so nice to have you with us. Thank you for joining. Do we have another question? Or anything, Ingrid, that you would like to share with Rotarians?
Just that I put in the chat a link to our partnership guidance, which I think Ted and I referenced earlier. It's a document that just talks about the different ways to get involved through the partnership. It also has examples of collaboration throughout different stages of a Peace Corps volunteer service. So just wanted to share that as a resource. It's in the chat. Yeah, that was it. And to thank you all for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, one more question. Oh, yes, I would like to know, what are the qualifications you need to have to be a Peace Corps volunteer?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that. So there are 2 main requirements to be a Peace Corps volunteer, which is being a U.S. citizen at least 18 years old. So with that, there are many different requirements that then proceed afterwards that are dependent upon each job description, each post, each position, which can be detailed on our volunteer openings. But typically at the baseline, it is to be at least 18 years old and a U.S. citizen. A lot of our positions and a lot of our host countries ask for at least a bachelor's degree or 5 years of experience. So that is also something that typically is a requirement, but it depends upon, once again, each different job description, each different position and volunteer opening that we have.
All right, so you have openings, you have job openings and try to match the applicants to those jobs. Okay, I see. Is there, do you have a dating plan on site? When do you think volunteers can start heading back to the countries or not yet?
Not yet. That's actually an interesting question because we're working constantly with different host countries on what that looks like, especially as COVID is changing every day within every different country. So we're actively working with our host country partners to decide when departure dates will look like, when volunteers will head back into the field. But we're constantly in communication, working towards that. And we are still actively recruiting. So we're constantly getting applications still to see when we'll depart. So stay tuned for that.
And Marga, could I highlight just one example? We have literally hundreds of partnership projects we've been able to document between Rotary clubs and Peace Corps volunteers. But I think one of our really favorite examples is how a Rotarian who was serving in the country of Ukraine, and his job was youth development. And because he had been a Rotarian for over 22 years, and had worked on RILA, he had suggested to all the Rotary clubs in Ukraine that he would be, and also the Peace Corps office, that he would like to try to start RILA in Ukraine. So they all loved that idea. And he brought all the Rotarians from the different clubs in Ukraine together. They met with Peace Corps staff, they met with other Peace Corps volunteers, and the Peace Corps volunteers provided the volunteer power, the boots on the ground, so to speak. And the Rotarians, of course, because it's a Rotary program, the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, provided a lot of the volunteer help, but the financial and the management help and all that. So the project, the first RILA conference was a big success. It continued in spite of the pandemic as a virtual conference, and they're hoping to go back to an in-person conference next year. But the reason I like to highlight that is it was not only did Peace Corps volunteers and Rotarians work together, but the young lady that also worked on the project and continued it for the next couple of years, learned about Rotary. She didn't know much about Rotary when she started volunteering. And then she learned about the Rotary Peace Fellows program, and she applied, and she's now one of our Rotary Peace Fellows in Bradford University in the UK. So, so there's many positive spin-offs from the partnership over and above doing better programs in the field. So she's very dedicated, she's very active, she works closely with Rotarians in the UK. So many of the projects are just like that. They start with something simple that Rotary clubs and volunteers could do together, but then because of the natural synergy, it becomes something much bigger and better.
Well, that's fantastic, Steve. Thank you so much. And this is, what I would like to tell everybody is that every single one of us that is a member of this spectacular organization that is Rotary has the power to reach out and connect with someone and help someone be involved in service, whether it is a Peace Corps or a Rotary Club, or be involved in a project that will change their lives. So I think many of us have stories to tell. And always remember that you have the power to do so. So before we go to, let me close this part of the program. And this is a certificate we're going to send to you to tell you big thanks for being with us today and for telling us so much about the partnership. It is a real celebration because the results are real. I mean, it's life-changing. So you will receive the certificate in the mail, but it's now electronically on the screen. And I thank you, and I ask you to stay in touch with us because this is just the beginning of many conversations. And to continue with a really good program, I have good news for you. We're going to induct 2 new members, and now I have my dear friend Laura Inns, who I love the way she tells me things like they are. And Laura is the director of the membership committee in our club, and she is going to proceed with inducting 2 new members. And Laura, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Marga, and thank you to everybody with the Peace Corps and the Rotary Peace Corps partnership. This has been really fun. But today we are inducting 2 new members of our club. We're very excited to have Arup and Isabelle here today to be inducted. So it is my great pleasure on behalf of the Board of Directors and members of the Rotary Club of Chicago to welcome each of you, Arup and Isabelle, as a member of Rotary One. We welcome you not only for the fine fellowship that we shall share, but also for your talents, abilities, and enthusiasm that will help us to carry out our many projects to make our community, our country, and the world a better place in which to live. Now, Rotary is not a political organization, but all Rotarians are vitally concerned with everything pertaining to good citizenship and the election of good men and women to public office. Rotary is also not a charitable organization, yet its activities exemplify the charity and sacrifices that one should expect from people who believe that they have a responsibility to help others. Rotary is not a religious organization, but it is built upon those eternal principles that have served as the moral compass for people throughout the ages. So what is Rotary? Rotary is an organization of business and professional people, like you, pledged to upholding the highest professional standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and international peace can be achieved when business people unite under the banner of service. So Arup and Isabelle, each of you has been chosen for membership in the Rotary Club of Chicago because your fellow Rotarians believe you to be a leader in your profession and because you manifest the intelligence and commitment of heart that fit you to interpret and impart the message of Rotary. You are a representative of your profession in this club, and any information of an educational value pertaining to that profession must naturally come to us through you. At the same time, you become an ambassador from us to your profession. We rely on you to carry the principles and ideals of service, which we inspire, to those who share your professional activity. The community will know and judge Rotary by your embodiment of it in character and service. And we accept you as a member now because we know our principles and organization will be safe in your keeping. And here's the hard part. We expect you to give us the inspiration that will help us become better Rotarians. And it is with this hope that we welcome you to the Rotary Club of Chicago. You will be receiving, if not already, some Rotary pins in the mail. The pin for Rotary One is unique. It is shaped in a number 1. It is the only pin like it for our club. So please cherish that and welcome to the club. So at this time, I'd like to have Arup introduce yourself to the club. If you would like to unmute yourself, please.
Thank you very much. And I'm very excited. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Marga, for the conversations. I am a professor at Loyola University Chicago at the Quinlan School of Business. Just completed 25 years at Loyola. And I have been thinking about Rotary, like it says right there, for 30 years. But I decided it's time to serve. So I'm very excited, looking forward to getting involved in more activities. I already have the pin, which I'm proudly wearing because I'm leaving for India on Thursday. So I want to see if I can attend a local meeting while I'm there. And I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone here by and by and participate and serve as well as I can. Thank you kindly.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the club. And we all know as members of Rotary, part of our responsibility is to share the joy of Rotary. And this is where you keep inviting people back, even if they haven't, joined for 30 years, because you never know. This next time, it could be the time. So now I'd like to turn it on over to Isabelle to introduce yourself to the club. Say a few words.
Thanks so much, Laura. It's nice to finally see you, at least virtually in person. And thank you also to Marga for this wonderful honor. It's wonderful to be with all of you. My name is Isabelle Andrews. I'm the Director of Corporate Alliances and Institutional Giving at Camp Kesem, which is a national nonprofit dedicated to serving kids impacted by a parent's cancer. I have been in the nonprofit space for over 20 years, and I'm just mesmerized by Rotary's commitment to serving others, as I've really focused in my life in creating impact through service, both domestically and abroad. And Rotary's pillars, working in human health, clean water, and looking at maternal and child health have really appealed to me, in addition to all the cross-cultural work that really takes a deep level of cultural understanding that can be built from the ground up. So super excited to be associated with Rotary International, and I'm looking forward to being of service and learning from all of you. So thank you for this honor.
All right. Thank you so much, Isabelle and Rip. We're very excited to have you as members of our club. And Marga, that turns it back to you. Mute.
Okay. All right. Yes. So very active day. I am so excited about Arup and Isabelle joining our club. Of course, Arup is a natural future member of the International Services Committee, but I told him to make sure he goes to India. You show off, your banner of Rotary, the Rotary Club of Chicago, and tell them you're a member of Rotary One, and people are going to go, oh my gosh. So then take pictures and send them back to us, okay? And have a wonderful trip in India, all right? And so Isabelle, well, I look forward to meeting you in person as well. We have lots to talk about. I'll be calling you, okay?
I can't wait. Thank you, Marga, and thank you to Timo also for the nomination. Both of you have been fantastic, along with Lisa and the rest of your team. So me as well. Thank you.
Awesome. But Timo is in Hamburg today, so he says it's lovely over there. So okay, well, what I would like to do now is give the floor to Eric Campbell, who is the chair of our nominating committee. And Eric, do you have something to share with us? Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Marga. Our nominating process is well underway now. Our nominating committee is chaired by myself and consists of Wayman Anderson, Wes Westerfield, Lisa Russ, and Ted Nebel. So thank you to all of those folks for serving. And it's really very simple. If you or somebody within Rotary you think would be great in a leadership position for the Rotary Club of Chicago, now is the time to tell me, or one of those members of our nominating committee that I just mentioned. And over the next month and a half, or I guess at this point, probably more about 5 weeks, we will be vetting those candidates and talking to those candidates. And in early November, submitting a slate to the board, and then that slate will then go to the club and will be voted on at the end of the day at the annual meeting in mid-December. So that's the timeline. And so if you know folks who may be interested in serving, let me know. Back to you, Margaret.
Eric, thank you for all what you're doing. It's very important work. So because whoever is going to fill these positions, they're going to be, having the reins of the club and leading us. So thank you. I really appreciate what you're doing. Now we will proceed to, before I make the announcements about the upcoming meetings that also you can check in the Gyrator, we have so many guests from other countries that I would love to hear you. I see Deepa Rajbandari. Tell me, please, that I pronounce your name properly.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, Deep.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, I'm from basically Dublin, California. and I'm members of Oakland Club.
Oh, okay. Oakland is Rotary Club number
3.
3. Okay, all right. Good. I'm so happy you're here. Super. Welcome.
Yeah.
And I see also we have Harriet from Guinea-Bissau. Are you still with us?
No, I'm not from Guinea-Bissau. I was a Peace Corps volunteer from Guinea-Bissau.
Okay, I'm sorry. Now I see your picture there. Yes. Okay, so you served in Guinea-Bissau. That's fantastic. Okay. Well, it's so good to see you again, Harriet. We have, let's see who else is here. Richard Kalungi from Kampala. Good evening to you. Oh, there you are. We can't hear you, Richard.
Not play my video.
Okay.
But it's always a pleasure attending this Rotary meet, and I'm always excited with the connections that I'm making here. I'm happy to connect with this club. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome again. And then, let's see, we have Ade. Ade Kunle, how are you doing? It's great to see you.
Thank you. I'm good.
Okay, that's great. Nadia is visiting us from Argentina again. ¿Cómo estás?
Hola, buenas tardes. Hello, everybody. Nice to be here.
Okay, and then, well, I have to say we have Dennis Evanchek, who is a Rotaractor, visiting us. I am so thrilled, Dennis, that you're here. Okay, and also I have asked Dennis to share the invite for today to other Rotaractors, so I'm especially grateful, Dennis. One announcement that I would like to make, our dear fellow member, Evan Freund, is going to be moving to California at the end of this month. So Evan, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be your last meeting with us here. Are you still around here? Evan, I don't hear you. Maybe he left already. It could be, well, okay. So if you have Evan's email, please send him an email saying, you know, he's packing his house now and will be joining a club in California in the Claremont area, where his children and grandchildren are living there. So big loss for us. Lucky the club who receives him. All right. Well, is there anybody else that I haven't greeted yet? I see Lisa Ross. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Marga. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I see Wes and Betsy. Hello there, my friends. Good to see you there in Michigan. Well, I guess, am I forgetting anybody? You have like 30 seconds to tell us something. Just raise your hand. I apologize for this cold, so. Okay. Well, I'm going to move on with the next segment of the program, and I would like to say thank you to our volunteers. Eric, thank you so much for being on Monday with Wayman at the food pantry and helping there. All right. Also, we had Bernard going to a cleanup event as well. You can see his picture with his happy face, you know, with a big garbage bag, and Prakash Tata from the Naperville Club. They have been participating in this project together. And also, let's see, we have an upcoming volunteer project in the Simeon Career Academy on the 7th and the 8th of October. I registered to come on Friday, the 8th of October. This is one of the schools that received a grant from our Community Services Committee, and we're going to be cooking a quiche with the students. So do come. I mean, this is going to be very special because you know, we're going to have a chance to meet the students. So I really encourage you to to join me. You can come either Thursday or Friday, the 7th or the 8th, and go to the generator or check in the chat box. This is how you can register at rotary1.org/calendar/. All right. Then another really cool opportunity that we have, since we cannot go to meetings in person, on the 29th of September, which is Wednesday, at 2 p.m. Central Time, the first 5 clubs are going to be having a joint session about membership. Okay, we're going to have 2 speakers who have been given each one of them their respective TED Talks, but also President Shekhar Mehta is going to be talking about membership. You know, you've heard his motto, each one bring one, but it's going to be very interesting to hear other points of view and other experiences. Excuse me. Sounds awful, but the good news, it is not COVID, people, so I'm happy. So, there are going to be, after the talk, there's going to be a time for a breakout session. So use that as an opportunity to socialize with other clubs. Deep, I'm really happy that you're joining us. The result of these activities we've done with the 5 clubs is that we started working together in our projects. So come and socialize. Wednesday, 2 p.m., register at the generator. I highly, highly, highly recommend it so you get to know new people. So let me see, what else do I have here? Okay. Well, those of you, Isabelle and Arup, we have committees that you can join. Check their generator. All what you need to do is contact the members, the chairs there, and say, hey, I want to be a part of it. I want to listen to it, hear what you're doing, and everybody is welcome. Okay, on the screen, you can see the dates and the times for the new committee meetings. And I think we're doing well with time. On Fridays, as always, at noon, we have a networking opportunity at the Union League Club, which is lunch. So I think you have to pay with a credit card. And you're free to go. People come up. It's not a structured meeting. It is. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I have to sneeze and I can't. Okay. So, but do come to the Union League Club, and then just meet new people. Usually, we have people that are from other countries coming to visit us on business. So, if you want to not to have lunch alone on Friday, just go to the Union League Club. All right. Then our committees meet virtually, which makes it very easy. The Community Service Committee meets on Thursday, October 7th at noon. The International Service on the Wednesday, October the 13th at 5:30 p.m. And the PR and Marketing Committee on the 21st of October at 4 p.m. Okay, so next on Tuesday, no, I'm sorry. My gosh, I can't believe we're in October already. So on the 5th of October, it is our first Tuesday at 5:30. We are going to meet virtually with the Consul General of Belgium. We were planning an evening of beer, Belgian beer, and social time in his residence, but there was a really bad storm last day for the date that this event was planned, so we could not cancel it. So the Consul General has graciously accepted to join us next on that Tuesday, the 5th of October, on Zoom. All right, so you're going to hear a bit of the history between Belgium and Chicago. And on October the 12th, come and join us. DG Jane Hopkins is visiting us. She's every year, the district governor has to visit each club in the district and every club. So we don't know yet whether she will join us on Zoom or in person, but we will let you know with plenty of time in advance. So Jane is, my gosh, she's wonderful. And she will have a very good message to bring to us. So I highly, highly recommend that you participate in this meeting. All right. And okay. And now we're about to close the event. And what we do always is to read the 4-way test. And I would like to invite Nadia Navarrete from Argentina, if she could read for all of us. And Nadia, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to say that I would love to be able to go there in 3 weeks for the Argentinian wine tasting. I will be with you in spirit. Okay. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Very much.
Thank you so much, Nadia. And, we work also hard on making it fun as well. With respect to the Argentine wine tasting, we will keep you informed on our next gyrator. So stay tuned because it's going to be a good party. All right. So now another magic ring of the bell. And with that, we are going to close the meeting. Yeah. So thank you, everybody that has come. And I am going to hang out here a little bit longer if you would like to chat or ask more questions. Once again, thank you for everybody who has been here today.